Greetings and welcome. This is Psychic Medium Roberto, and how are you doing today? I'm guided by Spirit. I do hope you had a lovely time over the past few days, and we are all in it together. Trigger warning: the subject matters of a mature nature and deals with true crime events. All cases are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. All those involved are presumed innocent until proven in a court of law. It's just me handing out boxes of popcorn. Alright, Michael Hutchence has been pinging on me, I would say, for the past, during this year. And of course, in excess, the music was at its peak when I was at the end of my school years. And for some reason, this case has been pinging on me the whole year. So here is a holiday season bonus episode, if you want to call it. And once I did a bit of research into this case, of course, I was aware that he had committed suicide. But once I started researching now during these little holiday break, the story and energy behind this case, I must say I did initially find overwhelming. I'm not going to deal with the kids. I'm only dealing with Michael, Paula, and Bob. Now, their story alone is quite intense. Having watched a couple of docies, did a bit of reading myself, and just the energy read and feel getting around these people was quite intense. We are going to look at the day Michael passes, November the 22nd, 1997. And then once I started digging a bit more, some 3 years later, almost 3 years later, Paula Yates, in an apparent overdose situation. So we will look at her dates, her time of passing as well, which was September the 17th, 2000. A lot going on here, and perhaps I'll just do a brief summary of context so we can get everyone on the same page. Paula was, of course, married to Bob. They had children, I believe two, Then Paula and Michael get married, and they have a child. I'm not going to get into the children, but to give context. So Michael was in Australia at the time. Paula was with the 3 kids, but couldn't leave or wasn't given permission by Bob for his 2 kids to be traveling to Australia. And because all the kids were always together, they were going to stay together and weren't able to travel. And of course, we know the outcome now, that November the 22nd, 1997, as the narrative goes, Michael then takes his life. So when I started looking at these numbers, and then put in the date of births of each character, I believe it's very important we need to understand who these people are before we go into the main puzzle, because there's a very interesting discovery I made, or that is evident in their charts if we had to take a look. So look at Michael here, January 22nd, 1960. he has a 16-7 in the year that he's born, right? The outcome. So the year that he's born in gives a 16-7. Now we'll also note that on Bob's date of birth, the year that he's born in is also a 16-7. So now the plot thickens, in my opinion. Then, to seal the deal, as it were, Paula has a 16-7 in the life path position. She has a life path 7, but she has the 16-7 year. Beg your pardon. Body's still getting back into the rhythm. And I thought, let's start with a simple love story gone wrong. A love triangle of sorts. But certainly we have a karmic story that has played out in front of our eyes here. These are the days of our lives. So what does it mean when... So both have 16-7 in the year. So when the number is positioned by the year, we're talking about heritage, lineage, background, you can even say family tree. Now, if we go into the metaphysical world, we can talk about past lives, past incarnations, meeting each other again. And here we have the meeting again of these three characters. Because when you have a 16-7 position like that, and it's not just 16-7, it's the year, the position of the year. Now, when someone has a 16-7 in the outcome, we are talking there's a karmic connection between all three here. There's a karmic connection between all three people here. Michael is karmically connected to Bob. Michael and Bob are connected karmically to Paula. This is what I found quite startling, and I only found it now. I've been tinkering on these charts for, let's say, off and on 72 hours, just keeping the brain ticking over a little bit. I haven't done any other work. I've tried to be disciplined because otherwise one can end up being fried. Anyway, so here we go, 16-7. This for me then tells me the story, unfortunately, that we have, and I'll just speak as we know it, 2 men, 1 woman. And of course, I don't want to guess anyone's ego. So let's look at their numbers. So first of all, there's a karmic connection between all of them. What I find intriguing about Michael's numbers, yes, he has the 23-5 in the day, which speaks about his larger, wider grouping audience. Michael will always remain the individual because he has the 1 in the January. He is the individual. Now, he can be part of a band, he can be part of a group, and he can fit into a group quite easily. But he will always maintain his individuality with the 1. Now, he has a power number 22-4, so that's quite a good power number. It's about building, constructing, creating big things. So whatever field or sector you find yourself in, when you have a 22-4, whatever field you're in, so building we can use as metaphoric as well. Whatever your sectors, you can make that small thing into bigger thing, or you can make the big thing into even a larger, bigger thing. It gives you the ability to create and build, in his case, a band, his name, reputation, the brand. 16-7 is the performing artist, the musician, out and out. 16-7. Because 16-7 is not only the musician number, but when you find musicians with 16-7, it confirms they are the artist. They are the performer, the entertainer. 16-7. So interesting with Michael, he has 39, 12, 3, 33, and all the threes. Now, when we get to the situation where he gets the news from Paula that the kid can't come over, or she and the kids can't come over. When you got someone with dominant threes like that, they are about, on one hand, they are about control, but on the other hand, the people with threes are loving, caring, homemaking, loving community people. They inclusive, right? But when we look at things like control and being out of control, 3 is about control. And of course, it must have been devastating for Michael, for a father. One, not to see his child, his wife, but not to see his daughter. And having no control over it. And the control at the time was being exercised by Bob. So interestingly, they both have a 16-7 as mentioned. We've got a 10-1 from the October that he's born. So again, here's a similar situation that he can be part of a group 10, but the outcome will always be 1. He will also maintain his individuality. Now, when you got a 5 there, now, if you've got a 5, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about Bob, I'm talking about Michael, I'm talking about Paula, their date of births, and the dates in which these events happened, and of course, their relationship, right? So when you turn the heat on that 5, and you find yourself that I'll just keep it clean, his children are leaving to go to Australia with someone he despises, one can imagine. And that 5 can be a nasty, nasty, nasty motherfucker. A 5, I won't, actually it's very close if not a match. A 5, and this is when a 5 goes bad, right? When a 5 is mean, when a 5's ego has been bruised, and he finds himself in a tight position, can be a mean bastard. So we have the outcome there, 15-6. So not only does he wake up in the morning as a mean bastard, but throughout the day, if that is turned wrong, that 15-6 can be the arsehole. The arsehole. We see the 5 there, right? There's a 5 there in the 15-6. And a 15-6 can be the happy-go-lucky guy, can be the guy next door guy. But if that 15-6 gets turned and his kids are being taken away from him, his wife has been taken away from him for a younger stud, can be the arsehole. So when we get further down, 31-4, 22-4 for Bob there, 13-4-4. So here's some more matches with them, eh? So they got a 22-4 match as well. Bob and Michael. These guys have had journeys together before, and of course, being in this conscious state at this time in our lives, we are seeing or had seen a karmic. I don't know if I want to use love story, but we certainly got something going on here. So they both got a 1. So they got quite a lot of similar matches. So, you know, from Paula's perspective, in some ways she's seeing both men in each other. So in Michael, she will see Bob, and in Bob, she would have seen Michael. Interesting, eh? Slight differences here, not slight, but differences here are Michael has a 3 and Bob has a 4. So let's give you the difference between a 3 and a 4. A 4 is someone that sets limits, boundaries. A 4, you don't even want to change something without his prior notification, because if you change something with a 4 and it becomes unexpected or a surprise, it's like a heart attack for a 4. Now, we can argue Bob is free-spirited in some respects as an artist, when he's an artist. But when he's the human being, the man, the father, the husband, Bob, at the counter sipping tea, and he gets a message that Paula is now dating Michael, that 4 is like a volcano. Internal implosion, 31.4. Internal implosion, 31.4. His heart attack moment. And would have been devastating for him. Let's not kid ourselves. Any person would have felt rejected or whatever. The question is, how do we deal with that rejection? You know, are you the type of person to get revenge or seek revenge? So a 4, if you mess, 4 is a family number as well. So of course, as a child number, he's got the 13.4. Yes, it would affect him, 100%. But what I'm getting to, that impact would have been very real for him on a visceral level because of those 4s. Now, April 24, 1959, Paula Yates. Similar age to Michael, actually. 8 years the difference with Bob roundabout. Paula born April 24, 1959. So we see triple 24/6. You know, we will look at her time of passing. Of course, there is real evidence of addiction in her numbers here. The number 6 speaks about addiction. And when you've got triple 6s, you got triple 24/6. Now, 24/6 on its own is a family number, so she would be extremely family orientated, right? But the issue is, when you have too many of the same numbers, creates problems. It creates an imbalance. So I would say, and just colloquially speaking, addiction would be a real thing if she was addicted. Okay? Because 4, now as mentioned with these 4s, so there's a 4 connection here, but they are obviously, she is karmically connected to Bob and Michael. The 4 that she has sets the rules, regulations, boundaries. So in my opinion, with the 4 there as well, she could manage it. She definitely has the propensity to manage it with the 4s. Of course, there's other mitigating factors. She has a 16.7, which speaks about serial behavior. So if she gets caught in a cycle of abuse, it would be difficult for her to get out of it, but she can get out of it with the 4. 28-10-1 in the day, so that's the combination of the month and the year. So the 28-10-1 in the day is pretty much who she is, visible to the public, visible to society. And 28-10-1, not shy to give her opinion. Gift to the gab, 28-10-1. I've just been reminded because I did see She was a TV presenter or something, a model. Well, I know she did a TV show as well, TV shows. So 28101 is the broadcast number sequence, broadcast network. But 28101 also is about gift of the gab, communication aid. So we know she's a good communicator, right? Also, interestingly, can be the individual as well. She can be part of the corporation, part of the group, but she will always also maintain her individuality. So we've got very strong characters in play here. And yeah, he's got the 6. So Bob has got the 6 in the day, and she's got all the 6s. So these guys were very connected, eh? These guys were this, and this is the energy that I was feeling until I saw because I had, in fact, I had Bob's date of birth first. And now that I've got all 3, the energy that I was feeling is now confirmed in their dates of birth because of their karmic connection. There's deep, deep energies here. A lot of energy going around November the 22nd and the build-up. You can see large, big numbers here. So let's start with the actual day, November the 22nd. So we've got a 22-4 and 11-2, hidden 33-6. So, you know, how far do the tentacles reach? So if there's already a problem here for me, right? As the coroner reports, a little bit graphic coming up, few seconds, 3, 2, and he was discovered having strangled himself, right, in some kind of position with a belt, right? So that would bring around asphyxiation, 16-7. 16-7 is asphyxiation, hanging, right? 16-7, we see a 16-7 the day after. So this already says for the numerology enthusiasts, it's reported he hung himself, right? But the hanging number is the day after. So that already tells you there's something wrong with the timeline here. There's something wrong either with the timeline or manner. How did they really kill him? Or how did he really die? Now, I'm just going to stay on November 23rd. Those that are familiar with the 369, the 9 on November the 23rd, the +9 reveals a staging number, 43-7, made to look like a suicide. There's a problem here. 15-6 in the middle of the where he's discovered or whatever matches. So we're going to do some ping pong. There's a 15-6 when the so-called event happens, right? And Bob has a 15-6 as well, in the same position, exact same position. Michael there has a 22-4. So that will ping on him, of course. Give me 1 sec. I'm just finding the right colors. Don't use yellow. Apparently yellow doesn't come across nicely. Beg your pardon. All right. So we got a 22-4, which matches Michael as well. Yeah, 22-4. Hidden 33-6. There's definitely something's gone down here. Now there we go, ladies and gentlemen. 24-6. Someone familiar. Now, the chart will say someone familiar. It's saying someone familiar. It doesn't necessarily say you have to be in the same room, aka Liam. Something goes down by someone familiar, but you don't have to be in the room. Here's the biggest concern that disturbs me. Look, 59, 14, 5 is a horrible number, but I believe the number we're looking at is, 50 outcome 5. 50 outcome 5 is a problem for me because it speaks of gangs, 14-5, gang, but it speaks about organized crime bosses, organized crime, like a organized crime team goes in and does the job, right? This number is alarming for me, 50 outcome 5. This number is prevalent, I believe, in the Jimi Hendrix death. And we know that operations were carried out either by agencies and supported by mob people, underground criminal people, organized crime groups. So the day ends with a 1455. So once again, we have confirmation that what we know about the outcome of Mr. Michael here is not the whole truth. If we look at November the 23rd, we see a 60 outcome 6. And this is where I think they got him. Michael, that is. I believe, and we'll go deeper, but it's the second time now I'm getting that sense. I got it the first time when I looked at it again this morning. I've been off and on this chart just to keep my brain ticking over a little bit. But when I looked again, I'm getting a sense the way they got to Michael was through drugs, and they tampered with these drugs. Because when you see a 60 outcome 6, now we can argue and say, the narrative is November the 22nd, right? So if we had to do a 72-hour profile, the day before, the day after, we've got a 60 outcome 6, and that speaks about poison. Poison. Now, what is the shape of that poison, or what is that poison? In this case, it's narcotics. I know there's been all sorts of autopsy. I haven't gone deep, but I'm just telling you what I'm seeing here. Let's look at the day before, because we always get the same telltale signs here. There's a 14-5 in the middle of the day, so there is a war going on. There's backwards and forwards, ego bullshit. The arseholes are having war. But hidden is a 32-5 and a 23-5, which means, again, that we have a breaking of communities here. There's a fight between communities. Now, if we had to go back, let's look at it from, we know these two are karmically connected in a past life. So hidden, we can even say, in their past lives, there would have been if we had to go, let's say for war times, for argument, right? Each would have been a warlord or a leader of a big army community. Do you know what I mean? This has been through the ages, I'm feeling here. So a lot of bullshit the day before, 14-5. Now we know it's about the kids. There's a lot of 13-4s around, 49-13-4. That is about keeping children within the family, 49-13-4. Because it's a 49-34 and it's the 9 and the sequence, it's like forcing kids to do something. Okay? The day starts with the 21-3, which is nose out of place. And that pings on Michael as well. The day before, we see a father with an outburst, 40, outcome 4. Now, all of these 4s ping on Bob. All of these 4s. But Bob, why does Bob continue into the next day? That's odd. Why does he continue into the next day? And when you get all of these 5s, that is like brute arsehole. And because Michael has a 23-5, this pinged on him directly, obviously. But there's, what the narrative says, he hung himself or hanged himself. I don't think so. I don't think so. There's people around you. There's other people around you. Now, in order to find out the answer, we would need to backtrack a few days, because at what point leading up to this situation was contact made with other people in Australia? So November the 23rd, we have the 16-7 in the middle of the day here. This now pings directly on Paula. And she's got all the 6s. This would have, the impact on her would have been ginormous. These are all her numbers here. And all of these 6s are her as well. Well, part of it is her, but when she found out that he had passed, would have been monumental. And yes, they were in a relationship, but when you have so many matches, the impact on her would have been tremendous. Which again, on one hand, confirms that this was intended to cause harm to her. Because there's too much impact on her here. So it's like doing something knowing what the outcome would be and what the impact would be on a person. Knowingly. I'm seeing poison in play, and I'm seeing roughnecks in play here. It only takes a phone call. These guys are all connected around the world, and we know Australia has its own metropole hive for the penguin people and the masonry people and all the motherfuckers. So, in my opinion, there's foul play around Michael, and too many numbers matching, in my opinion. Now, with Paula, September 17, 2000. So let's test the day as well. Now, the reason why we're getting these double numbers is because of the 9, right? So we're seeing... So on September the 17th, we're seeing a double 17-8. We see an outcome 28-10-1, 19-10-1, 10-1-1. You get my drift. Very transactional. We have a hidden 26-8. So what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I believe we have another mislaid truth around Paula, in my opinion. Because this hidden 26-8 speaks about a staging. The following day, September 18th, is screaming murder 18-9. It's screaming murder 18-9. Hidden 27-9, premeditated. Now let's look at September the 16th. Paula's number 16-7. We got Bob's numbers 16-7. Now we technically don't have Michael because Michael's passed already, but we do have Michael 16-7. So the other 16-7 belongs to Bob, eh? So we got a hidden 25-7. Now I'm just going to do a mini repeat here. You'll recall they are karmically connected. And this is a very interesting scenario, this case then. Right? If we go back here, the day before of her so-called overdose, we've got all the numbers of the protagonists in play. Okay? All the 16-7s. Hidden is a 25-7. Now, let's stay on the notion of past lives, karmic connections, and even current day. Why would there be a conflict about a marriage? So the hidden issue is there's a conflict between a marriage. Is history repeating itself here? The outcome is a murder, premeditated. We'll go deeper. The day before, September 15, we have a double 15-6. So why is Bob in this one as well? How can he be involved? Was he involved with this? How can he be involved with this? This is almost saying, or it's saying, but if you want to metaphorically say, he is standing in the crime scene. 15-6 is standing in the crime scene with Paula. With Michael, 15-6 is in the crime scene. When you have the 26-8 before the actual crime, because I believe the crime would have happened either in the evening of September the 15th into September the 16th. But that's why I've marked the red zone 14, 15, 16. We have a 26-8. Now, when it's before or in the crime scene, we're talking about it can be the nature of the crime. 26-8 is not a number that first responders want to arrive to, right? But in this case, because it's before the crime, there would have been a heated argument, 26-8. There would have been a big argument between Paula and I believe Mr. Bob. In my opinion, allegedly, choose your sprinkling for your popcorn. 26-8 speaks about an argument, a fight. Unfortunately, and this is true for fours, and as part of the four, it's not to say everyone, but as part of a four, they don't forget. They don't forgive easily. And interesting, in one of the documentaries that he was in, he says, no one was the winner here out of the whole situation, right? Because he didn't have his wife, Michael passed, his daughter loses a father, sometime later they all lose their mother, and he sits there in the interview innocently saying, no one's the winner, except Bob was the winner. If you want to look at it in a sick, sadistic way. So September 17, Paula's date. So what has the message been sent? 28-10-1. What has the message been sent out? Don't fuck with Bob, right? So as unfortunate as the circumstances are, because the losers are, let's not forget the losers were the children. The children lost. No one gained, actually. The children were the losers. Now, interestingly, out of all of this is a karmic war, karmic circle that these three were in. And the irony is that he is the one that's alone and Paul and Michael are not. You know, when I looked at this deeply yesterday, my goodness, the energy around these people is intense. And unfortunately, that's how it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please leave your thoughts and comments. I do love engage with them. I thought I'd just pop out a bit of a historic cold case mystery profile. And see you in the next one. Bye for now.